Because this is just a meeting, this is something we've been trying to get together for years, just committee of a whole, and then we'll come back and discuss it. But we haven't seen and reviewed the budget as much. We just got it as well. So, okay. And I'm happy that the Prince is here. There's another Prince here as well. And I've been all over different states and everywhere, but we were at I don't know if you know Herman Harlan, that's the head of the Indigo. It's an 8-pound book that was just put out, got history. And this book has from President Obama and John Rogers, the pastor, the Prince, and I was very honored to be a part of this event last Saturday, and Chief Pate. And it's ironic, most of the people in there have touched my life. And I was proud to have that. And Prince, I honor you for being the latest one that's published in this book. And this is one of the books I will be donating to our library. You won't be able to take it out. Just review it, look at it, review it, and that's it. But it's one that I would like to donate to the school, to our board, and I hope our school gets some as well. Thank you for being here tonight. Now we go into business items. Discussion, proposal, lease agreement with Class Act Barbershop at 36 Town Center. Is there a motion? No. I'm sorry, I forgot this discussion. I'm so used to that. Okay. Discussion of proposed lease agreement with Class Barbershop at 36 Town Center. Okay, for discussion.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Why is the rent so low? We're only charging $300 a month.
Trustee, this is the first draft of the lease. We're going to go back and actually go back to the table on this, but we want to at least present the working document to the board so we can have a general discussion and get your input. So we are looking at the rent and as well as a couple other provisions in the lease.
How much was the rent they were paying or supposed to be paying?
The rent for the unit is $394.
$394?
That was a standardized rent that the board came about in 2016. No, that, so.
2016?
Yeah, the draft lease that you have is dialogue that was going back between the village attorney and the renter as far as terms of the lease. So this is a draft of the terms of the lease based on conversation that was going back and forth. What I want to do today is have the board review it, provide their input. I can take that input back to the village attorney, and then we in turn can go back to the renter and provide open dialogue in negotiating the lease.
But just my opinion on it, in regards to the rent amount,
Okay.
it's on 300 is too low. I mean, I granted when we did the lease agreement with the thrift store, at least that has a charitable purpose behind it. This one is not. It's a barbershop. So I think we ought to keep that in mind when we're trying to.
And understand this, trustee. I totally understand that. And actually, this is the forum where we need to have these discussions. So as the interim manager, I can go back and make adjustments. So when we actually vote on this on the 28th, we have a clear document based on board direction and their input.
That's Trustee Wilson.
Okay, so you said the standard rate is $394. So the standard rate is $394, but in this document here, we have $300. And then I heard you mention that for the other company who was a nonprofit company, it was a different price.
Yes.
So we don't have a set of rules or policy or something where it's a standard rate regard, and so we don't have to go back and add another number.
So yes, there is, but the board deviated from that when they did the lease for the thrift store. So at this point, when we're doing negotiations of leases, we have other leasees that come back. The initial lease that went to them was at $394. their attorney and themselves provided input back. The attorney provided a first draft of the lease back to me based on the changes that were requested. And at this point, we're requesting the board to provide guidance. And if the board's wishes is to, for the rent to be $394, that's fine. But the board did set a precedent when they approved that lease for the thrift store that is located in the town center. And we do have to do some negotiation in good faith. But I don't have a problem at all going back and saying $394 is the amount.
I think it should, in my opinion, I'll be higher than $394. I'm thinking at least $450. Remember that first of all, had a charitable purpose behind it.
Correct.
However, we don't have written anywhere, or maybe we should do a policy or procedure or ordinance that says if you're a thrift, I'm sorry, not thrift. I'm sorry about what? If you're a non-profitable organization or business, you pay this rate per square foot, or if you're a for-profit business, you pay this rate. But we should not be haphazardly saying, okay, you can pay $300 or you pay $350. If the rate is $394, the rate is $394.
And again, nobody's haphazardly coming up with an amount. This is for discussion.
Or negotiating.
This is for discussion. The board will provide the input, and I will provide that input back to the village attorney to send to the renter. So it is clear that $394 is the number, and that's what I will return back to the renter through the village attorney.
And that was the rent beforehand, $394. I mean, even in the lease provisions that we have here, this goes up by 3%.
Trustee, nobody was paying rent in the town center other than the assessor's office for a significant amount of time. So what I'm attempting to do is, number one, establish leases with all of these businesses that have decided to leave, which we've had businesses that are deciding to leave, have until December 1st to leave, or formal eviction papers will be filed. So this is the foundational process that we're doing to enter in leases with these businesses other than the assessor's office that are located in the town center.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Are you finished, Trustee Wilson?
I think she has further questions.
I did. I was in the middle. You were answering Trustee Brown. And I heard everything you said. However, about a year ago, we heard exactly the same speech almost. We heard, because we almost heard the exact same speech. All the leases were supposed to be being reviewed, and we never got a follow-up. And it was almost about a year ago.
So the follow-up is eviction notices have been issued. The village attorney has been placed on notice, and leases have been issued, and I've had meetings with every individual renter of the town center to go over this information. So they have a certain period of time to enter into a lease with the village, or they will be evicted, as they should have been.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was Trustee.
Yeah.
And then Clerk D. Jones, Trustee Mtg.
Yeah, one of the discussions that we had, as part of the discussion that we had a negotiation with American Smiles, was about the CAM, or it's the common area maintenance, the costs. And I noticed in the lease that the tenant is supposed to pay their prorated share of real estate taxes. But most common area maintenance, in addition to the lease costs, also pays for the maintenance, maintaining, the town center in this case, So, I could see if it went from $394 to $300, if their costs are going to actually be, some additional costs are going to be picked up. I did not see, and I must confess I didn't really read it real carefully, but I didn't see a provision in the lease for the common area maintenance, so that it's clear that that they will be picking that up also. So if the real estate taxes go up, so will their common area maintenance expenses.
Trustee, I will look into that, and I will refer those remarks to the village attorney. These leases, the standardized leases, was approved by the board in 2016. So the language in total was approved by the board. So what I would do is, based on the input you've provided, I will get back with the village attorney, ensure those appropriate revisions are added, and open up discussions with the individuals wanting to lease their specific units in the town center.
Okay, so this lease is not the lease that the tenant's attorney provided. This is the standard lease that the board approved, I don't know, a year and a half.
So this is
ago.
standard lease
Right.
with changes that was
Yeah.
requested from the
Attorney.
person that we're presenting the lease to.
Okay, all right. Well, I would like to see, and they ought to have some kind of idea of what that CAM is gonna be.
Understood.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, Clerk D. Jones?
No, Manager Page spoke to what I was going to speak to, and that was that the board did pass commercial lease agreements based on square footage for each of the units.
They did.
Yeah, the board passed this
Okay.
last year,
Right.
but it was never implemented until now.
Okay. How long have we had them? The barber shop has been there quite some time. How long have they been there? And they weren't current, they were paying at one time, am I correct?
It's been a long time.
Madam Mayor,
Sorry.
is it standard practice? We have several businesses in the complex here. When they just don't pay rent, we don't take action on them. We haven't taken action on them over the last couple of years.
It's been a long time.
From my understanding,
One has never paid rent since they've been here, ever, and they've been there for many years.
Mayor, may I comment on that also? Trustee, yeah, part of the problem, trustee, is that a number of years ago, the village told some of the tenants when they moved in that, and they spent substantial amounts of money doing remodeling, and they were told that they would get reimbursed for that. I know PK's spent over $300,000 for remodeling costs. So they were told that they could deduct the remodeling costs from their rents. And the rents were, I want to say $1,500 a month or whatever it was at that time. So for a number of years, they weren't paying rent because that's what the thing was going, the situation was being abided by. Now, when we found this out that a number of the tenants weren't paying rent, then, and this was brought to the attention of the attorneys, we could find no documentation, although we had some verbal confirmation from some people that were involved with that at that time. But we could find no written documentation, just like we couldn't even find the leases, copies of the leases that had been signed either. That's one of the reasons why, our records are so poor. Subsequent to that, we also found that in the TIF documents, it had that expressly in there, that if the village couldn't pay or reimburse the tenants for remodeling, then they could deduct it from their rents. In addition to that, there were several businesses. I know I stepped in one over there where the youth group is using, the lines and so forth. And there was a horrible stench of sewer gas. And and I know whoever owns the braid shop was going to leave, and he was told not to leave because it would have left the town center barren. And it was never, to my knowledge, fixed. I know I tried to, when I went over there, I mean, it's hazardous to your health to even use something like that. I had them cover at least the drains that were in the floor. There obviously wasn't a P-trap or anything in there that you could put water in it to prevent that backflow of sewer gas. So they were told also not to pay it because they didn't want to leave the town center vacant. So that was part of the reason why the rents weren't collected. Now there were other businesses here that really should have been paying rent. Then we had also situations where the roofs were leaking, and the village didn't fix them, couldn't fix them, couldn't pay to fix them, whatever. So, in fact, that's why Will County moved out, because we couldn't fix the rent. I know PK's, the heating unit went bad in the wintertime, froze all his pipes, and then when the heat was turned back on, then he had water coming out of all the ceilings. So it's, that's all part of this whole mess that we're in right now, and why the rates are so low.
Oh, thank you for that explanation, please, thank you.
Yeah. Not to mention, they still are leaking miles.
Well, at this point in time, if you visit any of the restrooms in the establishments here, you can smell that sulfur smell that's awful. You can smell it in here. It's all.
So that was an issue that's why the currency exchange left too. A lot of people thought other reasons, it was because they couldn't get any service. And I heard we paid a lot of money for that roof repair back in the day. And it was paid and it wasn't working and it still isn't. It never did get repaired, so. Yes, trustees?
Is there any way possible we can get, like, when we have a standard template and their attorney reviews and changes something, we can get those changes bolded or something so we can know what's outside of our standard template? Because I didn't memorize it by heart, but I would like to see what they changed from our standard template. Is that okay?
Question. I think it would be better resolved, if we had policies. Is there a policy that states, okay, when you rent something, this is done, this is the check mark, that's what we need. That's basically what should have been done a long time ago. There should have been a policy when people rent the units, this is what's required. We rent them per square footage, this is what it is, that's it. And then everybody can be on the same page. So I would like to see some policies on rental agreements, just a rental agreement.
Madam Mayor, what do you believe the policy should be?
What the requirements are for rentals. I mean, just like you have standards on procedures. So,
I was just wondering, because I thought we should set policies.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, we should put it together, but the manager can bring it to us, and we can approve that, we can have input in it, but there should be procedures in everything that you need to do, and it's not there. Even the village employee policy, I've been asking for that forever to get done. We need
I
policies.
was
in
just
place.
curious, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay?
One last question.
Yes.
So, okay, we talked about adding the CAM, that's the first time I've ever heard that term out of it, the common area maintenance cost to this, because it's not in the base, the template, right? So you'll add that, the money will be changed, I guess, between you and the attorney, the dollar amount will be changed. Then because we won't see it again before the next board meeting, which will be the consent agenda.
No,
It will be the regular.
Oh,
This is a consent.
The board did not approve the consent agenda, it's a regular board meeting format.
okay. Oh, so each item will still be separate? Okay.
But it can be combined.
Oh, but they can do that, okay. Oh, so I'm just making sure that we have another chance to review this before we go on, okay.
It doesn't have to be on the next agenda either.
That's the purpose of the discussion.
Right.
We discuss it, if we're not happy with it, we need to do more tweak, more research needs to be done in, and if it's not satisfactory, we'll bring it back or we won't bring it back.
So, just to be clear, so the board is aware, in 2016, the board did standardize the leases. If there are gonna be elaborate changes, then I would probably request the mayor to place that back on the agenda for review and revision, because the board did approve standardized leases in 2016. Now, as far as the lease extensions that we're doing now, I'll duly note the changes that need to be made, and I will ensure they're made, because we don't want to delay executing leases for businesses in the town center that have already started negotiation. And it should be also be made noteworthy that we already have 2 potential businesses that are going to move in the town center that I've already been in discussion with, along with the mayor. And they are actually going to pay for their own build out for those areas, because the village doesn't have any money to do build outs. So, I will go ahead and make those suggested changes and send it over to the attorney, so those will be addressed. And then most likely in January, bring the standardized lease back to the board agenda, since there's only one board meeting in December.
Thank you. Okay. Any others? Good. 5A2, discussion resolution relating to general maintenance under Illinois Code for section 150000000-00GM. That's for the maintenance of the highway code for section 15. Your discussion?
I have one question, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Is this pretty much the same process that we did before? Okay, that's it.
Okay. Any others? We're fine with that? Okay, that's one item. Discussion of ordinance of authorizing execution of an agreement by and between the Village of University Parkville and Cook Counties, Illinois, the settlers' time for the transfer of ownership and responsibility for animals from Regal Farm. Open
This
up.
matter was tabled, based on Trustee Wilson's request for further research in regards to check payments that went out. Those said check payments went out to the board the following day via PDF, based on the information that was requested, so the entire board had the same information that was being provided to Trustee Wilson.
Plus it's attached to.
Plus, it's actually attached to the packet.
Trustee Chief, just, I know I came late after election, but is Regal Farm at that point where we can't even restore the farm and bring these animals back? I just want to make sure that before they go bye-bye, and I know my famous joke is that they found a better place to live during the campaign. Are they really gone bye-bye that we need to?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Trustee Brooks, they did say if we ever get back to the point, they might be going to sell them back to us, and they might get some price.
And that's kind of what my vision was, that at least we get to the point that the village can rebound and we can go back to the days of old where kids can go back to Regal Farm and a place to visit, or, you know, have their picnics up there. And, you know, I hate to say it, I live right around the corner, but I kind of miss the smell of the horses. Right, the flies, they get a nice bite, the horse flies. So, you know, I mean, I understand we have to take certain measures, but I still, you know, before we make this decision, you know, have a place where we can restore Regal Farm, and then once Regal Farm is restored, you know, we have the opportunity to bring the animals home.
And Trustee Brooks, I
Just a
think we
second.
will.
Trustee Wilson?
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could bring back, we won't bring back two, because they got rid of them, they were illegal, but my question, so I'm looking at the invoice, how they got to the total of $1,000 a month. And,
What's the date of the invoice?
well, no, so we've been paying them $1,000 a month, and this is just like a total, it's the upper left-hand corner is blacked out, that's this copy, where they give a total of sheep shearers, and they break it down, so $3.99 a month for sheep shearers, $180 a month for hoof trimming, $192 a month for West Nile shots for the horses. That's where my red flag went up, because horses don't get West Nile shots every month. They might, I'm not a horse person, but they probably get them, I don't know, they don't get them every month. Animals don't get shots, West Nile shots, every month. I've never seen one get one, so I would just inquire about that, but the other things seem like that's probably okay. And then it has less public donations, so maybe they got a private donor that gives them $221 every month to get our total to 1,000. I would just, if she was here, I would ask her, what is the West Nile shots for? And do they really get that every month? Because she broke down how many months they had them. No, that other thing is for the warmer invecmectin. That's a shot. This right here is once a month, 5 months, 22 at 159.80 a month. But if you look above that, directly above that, it says West Nile shots for horses 192, and this is the monthly total 1,000. And I just would wonder if they would get the horses a West Nile shot every month. Yeah, I don't think so.
Your question, did you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know, she's not here, so I can't question her, but maybe we can ask her, because if you do that 10 times, that's $1,000. And it'll probably go up, as she mentioned, because what she's asking for, I think in bills payable, was for up through September, and now we've passed October.
And so at this point, as far as those payments or what you're referencing that have occurred before my time, I really don't have any control of that, and the monies that went out already. The amount that was decided upon was based on input that was provided to the village attorney by the actual organization. Now, what I can say is, at this point, the animals are still in the possession of the village as far as liability purposes. The village is exposed to a great level of civil liability in regards to those animals being located at another location. So the purpose of the agreement is really for legality, remove those animals off our inventory so we do not subject the village to any legal issues. At the end of the day, if the board does not agree with the amount that's provided, the board can provide input at this time, and we have no problem going back to the organization and modifying that.
I'm in total agreement with that. I understand totally what you said. We heard it before. I totally agree, and I think I expressed that at the last meeting. My question is, if you could ask her if they were giving the horses shots every month at 100, West Nile shots every month at 192. Not trying to prolong anything, not trying to prolong our liability. However, residents, we hear all the time, you're on next door, you see what's on next door, we're broken, we're spending money. I'm watching, famous phrase from a former trustee, I'm watching this money like I watch my money. And that's 192 times. Total, at least 10 months, that's $1,000. I'm watching it like, so if you could just ask her.
Again, I know I'm stretching it quite a bit, and I know my colleague on the end mentioned it. Can we have something in here though? I know I'm not on that committee, the mayor never appointed me on the Park and Recs, but can we have something, and I'm asking my colleagues up here, if we can have something or that window open that, say for instance, because we have been doing great with business moving in the village, that maybe Mayor, you may bump into somebody in Washington and say that I'll fix that Regal Farm. Can we have something in the language and this to say that we can get them back? Can we do something like just to have that language in the ordinance?
If we had the language in the ordinance and the agreement, then it wouldn't be giving possession of the animals to.
They just want 100% possession?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Just trying to have hope.
and on your thought about as far as that, and healing those, I don't know what happened, but Ms. Nunn, and I'll say this for the millionth time, Ms. Nunn had wrote a letter that, but anyway, Ms. Nunn has made a statement, where we have a certificate. We had it for over 10 years now, or certificate.
That stated that this was a historical site. With that said, and I did investigate that and find out that we could have had it remodeled. I said it, I offered even to pay the fee for us to be a part of the historical, and it's never gotten written. I don't know who's supposed to write it, but if we are a historical site, we do have the certificate, if we get that done, they can refurbish it. But it's not being done. Maybe now we can get that moved on, sir, and get a grant, because we will do that for the village, and it's free. It's not free, but it's basically, they will revise it. It doesn't have to look like that, might not get those little smelly horses, but we will get the site back, and maybe we can do something around there with that.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just make a comment.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I think the handwritten summary of how they came up with $1,000 probably doesn't encompass everything. And, you know, I have to agree with Trustee Wilson that, you know, it may be a little far-fetched, you know, on the West Nile shots. But then there's probably a lot of other things that are on the list that they paid for that are not there, so 61 half dozen of the other. If we disagree with the paying them for however many months for the West Nile shot, then, you know, pay them for one, deduct the rest, let's pay them and let's be done with this.
Right.
That's where I am with this. You know, because the liability, if we have a problem, that little money for those shots is going to be a pittance compared to what it's going to cost us if we have a problem downstream here. So, you know, they probably spent money in other areas. Maybe it's not all on the shot, they were just using it as an example, but, you know, I think we need to let the manager find out how many shots were actually made. If that's the case, you know, if it was only one shot, but if there were other costs, let him bring that to us, and let him come up with a recommendation as to what we should pay them, and let's put it on the agenda for the next go round, and let's be done with it.
I'm in agreement with that as well. We have one check here that has one signature on it. Was that paid out?
No.
Okay. And as Ms. Wilson, Trustee Wilson said before, we have a lot of them that was done when we had no knowledge of this, that was going on. And I know it shows here when I asked the question, the invoice did not match the check, and that's where you see the only check I signed I voided. Because I couldn't sign a check and it did not match. But the rest of them, it's been done, and we need to move on and get this off. So if you can come to a conclusion, and, you know, I'm still, I know it sounds funny, but 37 mice, I just have a problem. The rats we was paying for, what was so significant about 37 mice so we can get up and down the street?
It's like mice.
Well, guess what? I can give them a lot more mice with.
Mayor,
I'm just,
because I've been over there for the last 19 years, and the mice were used as feeders.
feeders.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We
For the
just give them a lot of
snakes.
food. Okay, they were charged, they put that on their list of maintenance.
Because they have them in their possession as well.
Madam Mayor,
We can get a lot of them in Chicago.
Different kind of mice.
They're feeders, feeders are feeders. I know a rat when I see it.
with her presentation a month ago, she stated that she's not charging us for a lot of things that had transpired with the animals. And, you know, she's not charging us a lot, you know.
Okay,
She's
so-
not charging us a lot. with
So
the
what we'll do is then we'll have the manager to get to that and come to a closure. Everyone's agreement with
Just
that.
wrap it up. and say-
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.